Today, I would like to share a tiny exercise with you that I do right now, and I'm trying to do it on a daily basis. The overall topic is feeling your emotions. And I don't know how it is about you, but I would say I'm a person that is a bit rather on the rational side than on the emotional side. So to me, it's not always that easy to really feel my emotions. And since I have gone through my own coaching process in the last 2 years, I can say, first of all, it's not true. I am not a rational person. I am as much as an emotional person as every other human can be. Just I have learned within my life, especially in my childhood, that it's not a good thing to be emotional. So I learned how to suppress emotions. And because I've cleared a lot of the stuff up by now, I am now at that point where I want to figure out how every emotion really feels and where I can feel it in my body. So if I do ever get back to the point where I'm stuck in, I'm not feeling anything, that I can dive into this map and say, no, that's not true. Actually, I do have an emotion right now. That is why I do this tiny exercise that helps me figure out how my emotions feel and where they are. And that is something when you say that resonates with me. I am someone who doesn't really know how feelings, how emotions really are, how they feel like, what they are all about. I'm rather on the rational side, and I would like to be more connected. Then this is also for you, because this is an exercise you can do at any time of your healing journey. And even if you feel like I'm not at that point right now where therapy or coaching is something for me, that tiny exercise you can do anywhere. So it's about just taking a tiny bit of time for yourself. And it can be anything between 1 to 5 minutes. And the idea is to quiet down a tiny bit. So be present in your body. So what you can do at the beginning of the exercise is you take 3 deep breaths and be aware of your body. And then you start with one emotion. And let's say you choose the emotion sadness. So you sit there, do your breathing, and then you say it within your head, like sadness. Where do I feel sadness? How does sadness feel like? And for me, for example, when I do that, the first thing that happens, it gets really tight in my throat. And when I stay with this feeling and go deeper and say sadness, sadness, where is sadness in my body? Then I can feel that it's not just my throat that is getting tight, it's my throat and the top of my chest. And when I try, for example, to see if that feeling comes with a color, then I would say it's a dark blue. So I stay with this emotion for a while and I'm just sad for the moment. And I can bring this emotion up. And you can probably do that too, when you really take the time and sit there and just have this emotion. And I think one of the things that is really important to know is because we often think emotions can be overwhelming and emotions are always big and I can't control them. That is usually the intensity comes with suppression, because an emotion usually has the same intensity and it can just come and it's there. And when you do stay with it, it goes again. Emotions usually stay with us for 90 seconds. They come, they're there, and then they go again. Unless we cling, unless we suppress. Like if we cling to an emotion, for example, fear is an emotion that we can cling to, because we somehow think it's important for us to cling to the fear, to remember or remind us of what we should be afraid of, then we cling and we stay with it. And then we stay with the emotion of fear for a long time. And if you are a parent, you might know that your kids have that sometimes, that when it's bedtime and they should be sleeping, that they are like, Mom, I'm afraid, or Dad, I'm afraid, please stay with me. That is really often because they have experienced something that made them be afraid, and they haven't released that fear yet. And if we don't help them release that fear by, for example, talking through what their situation was, then that fear can be suppressed. And it comes again because it wants to be felt, and it's suppressed again. And it comes again because it wants to be felt, and it's suppressed again. And at some point, when we do that through our whole life, at some point in our adult life, we do have anxiety and we do have panic attacks because the fear from 40 years beforehand is still within us. It still wants to be felt, but it has been there for 40 years and it has been suppressed. So now it's huge. And of course, we are afraid of the fear because it's so huge by now. But actually, if you give it a try, this fear is still 90 seconds long, maybe a tiny bit longer because it has waited to be felt for such a long time. But it will, if you give it a go, if you go into that feeling, it will disappear. Yes, it looks big because it has been there for a long time, but it's actually probably just a teeny tiny bit bigger than it was 40 years ago. And it won't kill you. And that is why it's so important to start understand that we can feel our feelings without being overwhelmed. And that is what this exercise is for. If you go into the feeling through this exercise, at any point you can say, I'm out of it, that's enough. But what is important is to figure out, where is that feeling in my body? If it's possible, what color does it have? And the color is important because if you would get overwhelmed, let's say you do this exercise and it is getting overwhelmed, then one thing you can do is you can move the feeling, try to get it somewhere else in your body, because that changes the feeling, that gets it down again. Or you could change the color. Like if I would sit with the sadness and the sadness would get too big, then I could try to make the dark blue be a light blue, or change it into a purple, or see where it's going. But that will immediately change the feeling. And that is also something you can do with your children. If they are stuck in an emotion, ask them these questions. Where is the emotion and what color does it have? And then try to make them move that feeling. Try to make them move it up or down or out of their body, and try to make them change the color. And that makes it easier for them to stay with the emotion until it is felt through. And yeah, that is my take that I do these days. And it's really interesting because I, for example, figured that a lot of the feelings are actually taking more space in my body than I really thought they do. For example, the feeling of pride, being proud of myself or something that I do. It's a feeling of joy. And it's way bigger. I understood that it's here, but actually it goes all the way up to here. It goes all the way from my chest to my forehead. It's a really big, huge feeling. And that is something that I just learned because of that map that I'm doing in my mind. So for you, if you're interested, try it too. If you have children, try it with your children too, because for them, if they grow up with this knowledge. It makes it so much easier. It makes it also easier for them to say what emotion they are experiencing, though actually it's not necessary to exactly go into the deep course of what does this mean. It's an emotion. There doesn't always have to be a big meaning behind it. It's just important to recognize it, to stay with it and release it. And for the mapping, it's important to figure out where is the emotion exactly, how big is it really, and what color or what picture or what tune comes with it. And that's it. Simple, tiny exercise, so difficult sometimes. But yeah, I think it's so important that we all get back into understanding our emotions and to feeling more, being more connected within ourselves. Because yes, it's also helpful sometimes to be really rational, but we are human beings. We are not made to be just rational. We are made to be both rational at some times and always connected and emotional. Therefore, good luck with the exercise. And I'm interested about your experiences. So please leave a comment or write me if you would like to share. Thank you.